Who is going to get promoted from the Championship to the Premier League this season? Hello guys, and welcome back to yet another video. It is the third international break of the season. We are pretty much at the third waypoint through the Championship season, and I challenge you in the comments before we get into this video to comment which three teams you think are going to get promoted from the Championship this season. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. While you're there, do make sure to support this video. Let's go for 1,000 likes on this one, and make sure, of course, you are subscribed if you haven't already. Get involved, and it really does help the channel out. Like I say, we're going to look at the Championship promotion race. I'm going to flash up the top half of the table here, going down to about 17th place, so I can still try and include Coventry City. As you can see, I'm clutching at straws here, trying to believe that our promotion hopes are still alive. But let's have a look at the wider picture and see who could be up there come the end of the season. Let's go from the top to the bottom then, and we'll start with Sunderland, who are still obviously top of the tree, and you've got to give them a massive amount of credit. And this is despite drawing their last 3 games. Sunderland are the top scorers in the division. They've been absolutely fantastic. They've collected loads and loads of points. Reggie Lebrie's football has caught people by surprise. Like I say, they're playing good football, they're scoring lots of goals, and the question is, can they sustain it? Because I did think to myself about 3 or 4 games into this season, well done Sunderland, you're top, but I suppose after 3 or 4 games, anyone can be top. But to get to game week 15 and 16 and still be top, you are doing quite a lot of things right. And you look at the points they're churning out, they're above 2 points per game. So you look at this, even if they were to tail off a little bit, you still think a playoff finish is definitely possible. I think they'd have to be quite bad not even to make the top 6 now, because they've got a 7-point lead over 7th place. But let's not rule them out of the top 2 discussion. I think the thing is, for people that watch the Championship a lot, you just grow accustomed to the relegated teams, the teams with parachute payments to bully their way up there come the end of the season. Well, I suppose the telling thing will be some of the head-to-heads. We have seen Sunderland beating Burnley, taking a point off Leeds United, and if they can continue to do that in the head-to-heads through the second half of the season in particular, then they will stay up there. So I'm impressed with Sunderland. I know they've drawn their last 3 games. There was a couple of away draws on the road, 0-0. I know Bellingham got sent off against QPR. Maybe you can make an exception for that game. Played some decent stuff against Coventry in the first half. Some good goals scored. Second half, not at their best. I thought Coventry came back into that game quite well. Sunderland fans, share your thoughts. Is this sustainable in terms of top 2, or do you think to yourselves, no, I'll be happy with the playoffs yet? Because although Sunderland are still top, it is close. Look how bunched together this is. The top 3 are separated by 2 points. I've got to be honest though, I do think looking at that top 4, I'm going to say it'll be 2 of that 4 that will go up automatically. Not 100% sure if I can see anyone from below 4th finishing in the top 2. Don't want to rule out West Brom and Watford and Middlesbrough, but I just look at that 4 and think they're the ones that are going to be right up there at the end of the season. Let's talk about Sheffield United, who are second. They're only behind Sunderland by 2 goal difference, and they do actually have the highest points per game this season, because Sheffield United did have 2 points taken off them at the start of this season. They're churning out 2.2 points per game, which is absolutely unbelievable. You know, we're looking at possibly over 100 points if they continue that rate of form throughout the whole of the season. So, can Sheffield United be a team to get automatic promotion this season? I think you've got to say they're right in that picture. I think defensively, they've been really good. Second best defence in the league, only conceding 7. And the form coming into this international break, they are the form team again, having won 4 games in a row. It did seem as if they were having a little bit of a wobble when they lost away at Leeds and Middlesbrough and went back-to-back defeats, but those games were always going to be tricky, and they didn't lose by massive margins. So I must say, I think Sheffield United look a really good fit for that top 2 this season. Once again, it is early, but I think because we've seen them walk that walk before, and with Chris Wilder, who's looking back to his best, you've got to fancy Sheffield United to be one of the teams to get it over the line this season. Let's come on to Leeds United then next. They've been pretty good this season. Their form on the whole is also fairly good. They had that draw a few weeks ago, and then there was a loss to Millwall quite recently, but Seems as if they're churning out maximum points on most occasions, having won 8 out of 15, so that's great. Only 2 points behind Sunderland and Sheffield United, so one slip up from either of those top two and Leeds United could jump right on in there in the next game or two. Leeds United best home record this season, of course. They did have that defeat at home to Burnley early in the season, but they have picked up the most points at home this season, or joint most points. Only 2 away wins, I must highlight, so I don't think that's terrible. I think the home form, as you'd expect with Leeds, is always going to be better than the away form, but maybe just to take them to that next level, the away form needs to pick up a tiny bit. I mean, they're very close to churning out 2 points per game here with 29 picked up from 15, but wouldn't it just be so frustrating for the Leeds United fans to be in third place with a really high amount of points again and not getting into that top 2 come the end of the year? We will see, but I've said for a long time I fancy Leeds. I just like the quality of the team. You can't be that unlucky twice and not go up. So, yeah, I think trust with Farke that you're going to be in that picture, and maybe this is the season where you just get it over the line. As I say, I'm not saying Sunderland are definitely not going to be up there, but I think just given how things can go in the Championship with track records and stuff, with the parachute payment teams having their way, you'd maybe fancy Leeds. But you could say that Ipswich last season didn't have parachute payments. Obviously, they found a way of getting over the line. They were fantastic. So Leeds United just need to stay on course, maybe take things to that next level as well. Maybe just a few more away wins churned on as well. But yeah, right in that picture. Scoring goals for fun. 24 scored, by the way. Unbelievable. In fourth place then, and you got Burnley. And Burnley seem to be a team that, I don't know, I mean, people are a bit confused by Burnley's numbers, but I must point out straight away one that jumps out. They've only conceded 6 goals this season. Okay, they're not scoring as many as Leeds and Sunderland, but they've only conceded 6 in 15 games. It's absolutely unbelievable. So, you know, if they're not going to win games, they'll still maybe get a 0-0 draw out of it. Not that that's how you should try and get promoted. You know, obviously, I think they need to target maximum points. But in those close games, they do seem to be just about edging it. We saw just before the international break, they snatched it against Swansea 1-0. I know some people are saying it was a dubious decision for the penalty, but that, you know, former Premier League quality with that great defensive record they're showing is just a nice enough mix for me to think they could get over the line this season. And I have said on record that I know some people are like, I've not been totally impressed by Burnley. Well, if that's the case, does that make you think that, you know, they're fourth and they're not even at their best yet? What happens if they do take it to that next level? We will see, but maybe it's been a slow burner of a start for Burnley and they're going to get in there towards the end because they're only 4 points off that top 2 right now, so definitely still involved. Burnley fans, share your thoughts. Fifth in the table, I mean, this is interesting. You've got West Brom 5th and Watford 6th. Their numbers are hilarious, actually. They're really opposites to each other because West Bromwich Albion, loads and loads of draws. They had 6 draws in a row. They've drawn 7 of their games this season, which is almost half of them. And then they did win away at Hull City just before the international break to bring to an end that incredible drawing run. Like I said previously, West Brom's home ground has become the Drawthorns. So they're 20th in the home table, but they're top of the away table. So that is showing, obviously, that they need to improve at home, start scoring more goals at home, of course. But away from home, West Brom obviously doing really, really well. Interestingly, like I say, level on points with them, Watford is the complete opposite. They are not drawing games. They've drawn 1 game this season. And their home form is absolutely fantastic. Watford are 2nd in the home table, but 17th in the away table. So Watford are not drawing games. West Brom are drawing lots of games. West Brom are not great at home, but a lot better away. And it's the reverse for Watford there. I think despite West Brom being fairly low down in the home table, they're not conceding many goals at home either. I mean, there's just a lot of tight games there, but with the quality of Madja, can they just keep snatching points when they come along? How do West Brom compare to the 4 teams above them? Because I wouldn't necessarily rule West Brom out of the top 2 race, but I think they just look to me like a very solid playoff team. I would be astonished if I see West Brom finish outside the top 6 this season, but it's going to be difficult for them to maybe take that jump up to the top 2. 6 points off that top 2. Like I say, that drawing run has maybe slowed their progress down in that respect. As for Watford, on the other hand, I suppose West Brom were more expected to be around that playoff picture. I really like Corberan, really, really do. I mean, if Coventry were to get him, that'd be amazing. I don't think that's realistic, but as for Watford deserve credit for being a surprise package because Some people had real serious doubts about Watford this season, but cleverly has got them right into that playoff picture, and they look in no danger at all of relegation threat, which some people thought they might be this season. So great job, Watford. And honestly, it's not just a fluke start. You know, look at some of the results they're churning out, especially at home. I think they could be in that picture for the long haul. Let's move on to teams just outside the playoffs. Let's start with Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, when it comes to the numbers, it's always about chance creation, XG. They put up some really good numbers in those categories, and when it works, it works. I mean, look at that result against Luton. They absolutely smashed them to pieces. When it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, their form is a bit up and down, let's be honest. They lost 3-0 to Coventry a week or two before, but that was maybe because they were down to 10 men for a long time. They did obviously beat QPR 4-1 as well, so they scored 9 goals in their last 2. Maybe the international break didn't come at a good time for Middlesbrough because they were really starting to get going with those results. 1 point off the playoffs. Where I'm at with Middlesbrough here is I think Carrick has to get them a playoff place this season. Obviously he did 2 years ago and they lost to Coventry in the semi-finals, and then last season they didn't quite do it. I think they finished in 8th place in the end. I think this time Middlesbrough have got to do it. They've got to get in there. You know, we've seen Mark Robins getting sacked at Coventry. We're seeing Rob Edwards under huge pressure at Luton. Well, Middlesbrough are doing better than both of those teams. But if they cannot crack that top 6 this season, I think it's not a great season. They've got to make sure they get in there. They've got the quality to do it, and they're not far away from it right now. 8th place, we've got Millwall. I mean, Millwall are definitely a form team in this division. Their numbers, I mean, they're top of the form table over the last 6 games with 4 wins and 2 draws, and they love a 1-0 win. Grinding out clean sheets. They're making the Den a fortress, beating Leeds and Burnley. Great results there. 2 points off the playoffs. I mean, a few weeks ago, we were looking at Millwall in terms of mid-table obscurity, but look at them right in that playoff picture, and if they can continue that fine form after the international break, they'll definitely climb on in there. Very little to separate some of those teams from 5th down to about 9th. Speaking of 9th, we've got Blackburn Rovers. I mean, Blackburn, an interesting one because different to Millwall, they're actually 22nd in the form table over the last 8 games, where they've only picked up 7 points, under a point per game. I had said for a while I really liked them at home, not sure away from home. In the last few games that did change. I think they lost back-to-back home games, didn't they? I think it was Sheffield United and Stoke City. But then massive credit to them, I did not see them getting that win at Cardiff City. So right back in there, Blackburn. I mean, I think I associate Blackburn with being around the playoff picture a lot of the time over the last few seasons in the Championship. So could it be one of those seasons again where they're right on the edges? I mean, I really like Eustace, got some great players and scoring lots of goals. Defensive numbers are not too bad either, so let's see if that Cardiff result gives them a platform to kick on up until Christmas now. 10th place, you've got Bristol City, a bit like West Brom. They love a draw. 7 draws this season, only lost the 3 games, which is really, really incredible. Bristol City, 1 defeat in the last 10, and I think that is remarkable considering what has gone on. I mean, what happened to Leo Manning is absolutely awful. I mean, it really makes me feel sick. I'm sending my thoughts to him still. But, you know, the football comes second in these situations, but they're still doing an incredible job. Like I say, that run of form, fantastic. Only 1 defeat in the last 10, and that was in the last minute to Sheffield United. They picked up a great win away at Norwich just before the international break. The first team to win away at Norwich this year. I mean, we're in November, which is incredible. So, really, really impressed. 5th in the away table. I think it'd just be an unbelievable story if Bristol City get in the playoffs this season. And you know what? I'm rooting for it. Go on, Bristol City. Next up, 11th place, you've got Swansea. There is a 3-point gap from 10th to 11th. So, yeah, that gap has formed. It makes Swansea and Derby and Stoke look a little bit further away from the playoffs. Let's talk about these teams, though. Swansea, the lowest scorers in the division, only scored 11 this season in 15 games. That said, they've still got a positive goal difference because they've only conceded 10. So maybe a really boring team to support, but despite being the lowest scorers, I am actually quite impressed with these low defensive numbers, and the Swansea fans will be quick to say we shouldn't have lost that Burnley game. That should have been a 0-0 draw. So I think Swansea are definitely in the picture. I'm not saying they're favourites or anything, but I don't know. I think they're a mid-table looking team, but they could definitely have one eye on that playoff picture. The defence does impress me. Can they address that balance of keeping the numbers low at the back, but also chipping in a few more going forwards. 12th place, we've got Derby. Derby's an interesting one because, I don't know, are they going to be here right at the end of the season, or are they just going to be trying to make sure they've survived this season? I don't want to say to the Derby fans, don't dream big, because once you've got to a certain amount of points, you shouldn't really have to worry about relegation anymore. You're in the top half, you've got 19 points, you've got a 0 goal difference. You know, considering you're a team that's just come up, you're definitely the best performing of the 3 that have come up. And yeah, they're doing all right. I mean, the one thing I will say, as I've said before, is 75% of their points have come at home. And the form overall, 2 wins in the last 10. So they did start fairly well. It's maybe levelled out a little bit, but they're still chucking in enough decent results and quite a few draws that should keep their heads above water. So Derby fans, do you dare to dream big, or is it just let's get over the line this season? Mid-table would be a real bonus. Let's see. Stoke City, I mean, Stoke City are absolutely bonkers. I don't really like talking about Stoke City because as soon as I talk about them in a promotion discussion, they'll go down the table. As soon as I say, could they be in relegation danger, they'll start flying up the table. Stoke are bonkers. Inconsistent. That said, only 1 defeat in the last 8, so are they trending in the right direction? Maybe, but there has been quite a few draws at the same time. I mean, if you look at them in one-off performances, 6-1 against Portsmouth, 5-0 away at Middlesbrough in the Cup, they can look like the best team in the league, but can they do that more often? 14th place, Norwich. Norwich definitely trending down the table. Winless in 6th, lost the last 3, and that home record has gone. That said, they've got Borja Sainz. He can blast them right up the table and into that playoff picture out of nothing. But they are missing a few players. I think Josh Sargent being one of them. That is, you know, they're big blows, let's be honest. But looking at it, I think this might be like the lowest peak for Norwich. I don't see this being a sustained drop, if you know what I mean. I think this might be where they've hit a bit of a peak and it might start coming back up. So that's my view on it. I just think they've got the quality to get back into that top 10 at least. Share your thoughts, Norwich fans. In 15th place, you've got Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday, I'll be honest, they're screaming mid-table at me. And Sheffield Wednesday fans, do not take that as an insult, because I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing considering the season you had last year. What I mean by that is their results are not consistent. There's plenty of decent results which I think will keep them away from trouble. They're just conceding too many to be a real serious top 6 candidate. They've conceded 25. That said, I'm looking at them, they're performing like this. And if they have a random spike where they win 3 in a row, they suddenly get into that top 8 or something, and they're definitely involved. So, like I say, a real mixed bag of results. They lost the Steel City derby 1-0. I saw them in person against Coventry, thought they played really well in that game. I think given the relegation battle they went through last season, if they just finish 12th, 13th this season, that's good. And Danny Roll will be seen as building this team. So, let's see. But 7 points off the playoffs, like I say, any team that is in Sheffield Wednesday or Norwich City's position right now, with the right spike in form, are right in the picture. So let's see. 16th place, Oxford United. A bit like with Derby, are they just happy to stay away from trouble, or are there any fans that are feeling optimistic and dreaming of climbing towards the playoffs? 8 points off right now. Look, they've been great at home. 15 points of their 17 have come at home. It shows that like a playoff push would be unsustainable if there aren't any fans dreaming of that. But once again, if they have a random spike in away results, they might go climbing on into that top 6. One thing I will say though, for the Oxford United fans, is just to stay away from trouble, you need to keep that home form. You need to keep the home wins being churned on when they are, because I have said, for a few times recently that the form is drying up a little bit. They've only won 1 in their last 10, but that win was crucial. I think it was the home game against Hull City. If they didn't win that, a bit further down the table they go. So just chuck in the home results here and there still, and given the good start you've had, you'll just keep churning out the points and staying away from trouble. 2 points above a point per game right now, so Oxford fans, not a bad position to be in. If you'd offered this to the Oxford fans before the start of the season, 16th place, a third of the way through the season, I think they'd have taken it. Share your thoughts. Let me know if you disagree. Let's talk about Coventry finally. I can't even begin to say where we're going to go. I don't know what's going to happen because we don't know who the manager is yet. Are we going to get Frank Lampard? Everyone likes to joke Frank Lampard would be rubbish. I think people are really harsh on him, and you know, if I had the choice of going back to Robins or having Lampard, I did like Robins. I felt safe. I trusted him. But it's happened now. You can't reverse the process. I just hope the owner, Doug King, knows what he's doing. He has to be so careful with this next appointment. He's talking about, we've got the quality, we've got the deck of players, that if we get the right manager, we can still make the top 6. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Matt Bloomfield? Is it going to be Frank Lampard? Is it going to be Lee Carsley? With the right manager, I think we can compete for the playoffs. I'm not going to say we're making it. I'm just saying we could compete. Get the wrong manager, and we might be looking at a different conversation a bit further down the table. So, let's wait and see. But let's just say Coventry are not out of the playoff picture. Should I hang on to a little bit of blind faith? You might think I'm being biased, and I probably am. Well, there you go, guys. That wraps up the promotion discussion. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments on which 3 teams you think are going up. Let me know down below. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a big thumbs up. It takes 2 seconds. And if you haven't already subscribed, now's your chance. Hit that subscribe button. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace out.